And I didn't like him. I just thought he didn't help the youngsters. He was very aggressive in his manner. And I think, I know the Cardiff fans loved him and all that, because Cardiff fans always want to love somebody. They just let them they do what they want. If they're not happy with a manager's decision, they'll go and tweet it. I was at a train station and the Echo billboards, where they put the news, and they said Man United star signs for Cardiff City. I remember looking around Indian Park, empty, thinking, pitch was lovely. So okay, we'll see what happens. Out in the middle of the sea, half hour before we're supposed to leave, keeper got it, and he come to the edge of the box, and he wanted it on the edge of the box, and he could ping a ball.
Hey guys, I'm Si. Welcome to A.C.E Podcast Nation. Special edition of My Story, because Derek did My Story in the very first series, but we've come back for some extra stories and extra chat, as it were. Going to talk some current football as well, but delighted to be joined here at Eat Sleep Media by former Manchester United and Cardiff City defender, Mr. Derek Brazil. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, mate. I've got here, through the eye of a storm, this big, massive storm that's here. Managed to get here.
Didn't quite come, dodged all the trees and the roofs.
5 trees, drove over them.
Jeez, that's the way, mate. So yeah, like obviously we've done My Story, and you kind of talked about your career a lot when we did it on the internet, but I think it's a bit better in person. We can have a proper little chat. So we're going to talk all sorts of stuff, I think, today. But we'll start with like the modern stuff. What's going on with your teams? And you'll notice, by the way, mate, I left out Swansea this time because you complained to me that I said ex-Swansea City defender the last time.
Yeah, that was before I came to Cardiff, and unfortunately they couldn't pay any money for me because they were skint, and still skint.
Yeah, still skint today. So we left them out.
Yeah.
But how do you think your former clubs are doing at the moment? We'll start with Cardiff. It's been up and down a couple of years, really. Do you think they're settling a bit now?
Yeah, I mean, initially we had the Warnock years, didn't we? And he did a job, and I think we were so bereft of any success. And when he took over, we were toured from bottom, and eventually he kept us up, then got us promoted. But I think Cardiff City fans are used to a style of play, and I think eventually his shelf life, just went.
Yeah.
And we've had, you had Mick McCarthy in. I played with Mick McCarthy in B internationals for Ireland, and I knew what he was like.
What is he like? Because I was not happy when he was appointed at all for various reasons. I just didn't think he was a man for the job. I was quite vocal about it on my shows, but I'm interested in someone who knows him or someone who played with him and stuff. Like what?
With McCarthy, you know his style. And he came in. I think he had seven or 8 decent results. We finished the season okay. He signed a 2-year contract, but his style of play was never going to please the Cardiff fans. It was the right time to get rid of him. I mean, like I say, I played with Mick in 1990 when he was coming back from injury from the international team, Ireland. And I didn't like him. I just thought he didn't help the youngsters. He was very aggressive in his manner, and it was his way, or no way. But I was always on tenterhooks. Still currently working down at Cardiff City. It was very difficult at times to assess games after the game with Gary Bell, but for me, he was probably the wrong choice of manager. But he's picked up a lot of jobs, and the club did a great decision by bringing in Morrison and Tom Ramosset. Tom's a good friend of mine. Tom, I actually played football with Tom, and I was his manager at Haverfordwest.
Ah, okay.
So I know Tom, I know how he thinks. He's a great football brain. And him and Morrison seem, after a shaky start, you look at the last, 5 games or whatever, their philosophy. I don't know Morrison, but I know Tom, and his philosophy is to try and play football. And I think the best thing we've done is the new recruits we brought in January. A lot of people said it was they're not big enough names, but they've gelled so well. I mean, you know, the game when we beat Nottingham Forest 2-1, and you know, both, you know, Morrison and Ramos would give the boys all their debuts, and they just worked. And the Cardiff City fans, you know, so give 100%, you know, and that little bit more. If you get beat, you get beat.
Yeah.
But you know, they've really turned it around now, haven't they?
Yeah, 100%. I think one of the things is, like with Warnock, you're right, he'd done a job, he did well, he was successful. Not interested in developing the youth players, not interested in promoting academy players really. Same with McCarthy. McCarthy plays very one-dimensional football, and also he's not looking to the academy to blood these players unless he's literally got nothing else. And I think the one thing you've seen straight away with Steve Morrison and Tom, and then you've got Mark Hudson there as well, and Darren Pearce, who I had in here a couple of weeks back, who's doing the 23s, is they all seem to be straight away, even in a short space of time, they seem to be off the same hymn sheet. You've got academy players in the first team, but you've also the players they brought in from on loan, all young players really. They haven't really brought anyone in who's vastly experienced. And I spoke to Rodri because the boy Doyle, who's come from Man City, and obviously Rodri's up in Manchester, and so I sort of said to him, any of your mates know if he's any good? And he sent me a voice note from a friend of his who's a Man City season ticket holder, and they spoke so highly of him. They said like he just needs games. He's at an age where he just needs to play, and if you play and you give him the ball, he'll do it. And from the very first moment he came in, I think he's made a difference to the way the team plays and how Cardiff play. And it's ironic really, because I think part of the reason Kieffer Moore hasn't worked in the last 12 months for Cardiff, or didn't work for Cardiff, is we weren't getting the ball into the box for him, and we weren't able to use his strengths as we had previously and as he does for Wales. Like he relies on that, on crosses and things like that. And I think he's now gone, and suddenly we've got a midfield and a team who are putting the ball through and putting the ball in the box.
You know, the managers brought in players who are hungry and trying to improve themselves. You know, they're on, you know, the edge of their own, like, you know, football clubs. But going back to Kieffer Moore, his head was turned in the summer. Yeah. And he didn't want to be here. And I know the Cardiff fans loved him and all that, because Cardiff fans always want to love somebody. Yeah, and they want Welsh players, mate, as well, don't they? They want. I just think he does so well for Wales. I understand that, but you could see when I think it was West Ham put a bid in from or somebody else, but he wasn't interested. You know, in the long run. I think with Kieffer Moore, I don't know him, but his body language, you know, whether he started or played, wasn't good enough for me. No, I didn't really see what he was doing for the club, and to be honest, when they got shot of him for 3 million, happy days. Yeah, I was more disappointed that they got so little for him after having such a bigger bid. But in the summer, they'd kind of lost a bit of money on him, but such is life, isn't it? That could also be down to like contract status and stuff as well. He wanted more money from the club who was buying him. Yeah. But you look, the lad Hugill they brought in from Norwich. Championship striker, he is. Straight away, yeah, but straight away he wants to prove himself. Work hard. You know, the lad from not Middlesbrough, is it Middlesbrough? So you got the striker from Middlesbrough, haven't you? And then you got the boy from Stoke as well. They want to prove themselves. Yeah. You know, every single one of them, isn't it? Yeah, and I know what it's like when you come to Cardiff City to play. If you put the effort in, and you know the fans will just take you. They'll take you on board. I just felt with Kieffer Moore, he kind of believed in his own hype a little bit, maybe. Type of thing, you know? My thing with him was when he's at Wales, when he's surrounded by Bale, Ramsey, superstars, legitimate superstars who've won trophies around the world, he's not a big fish then, is he? He's a kind of little fish in a big pond. The likes of Bale and Ramsey will actually exactly. So he works for Wales, he's running the channels, working hard, pressing, all the hard work that you want your number 9 who plays up front on his own to be doing. Which is Wales' number 9 as well. Yeah, exactly that. And then he comes back to Cardiff a week later, and he'd be not running the channels, he wouldn't be pressing, he'd be wandering about, he'd be slouching his shoulders, moaning, and you're like, mate, come on, we've all just seen you 2 days ago. There's a reason he's had 3, 4, 5 clubs. Yeah, there's some in there, isn't there? So, you know, and I mean, he's got the Bournemouth now. I mean, if I was guessing, Derek, I'd say he will go to Bournemouth.
once he gets fit,
they get promoted, they'll sell him on.
Yeah, exactly that. But if they don't get promoted, he'll get fit, he'll have a good season next season, score 20 goals, and then he will either move on to a bigger club, or the next season you'll have the same issues with attitude and work rate and things like that, because it's like a reoccurring thing, not just for him, there's a lot of footballers, and unfortunately it's one of my big bugbears with a lot of young Premier League footballers. They get so much before they've even gone into the first team, a lot of them, that they're not interested in doing the hard yards. Like recently I've spoken to a couple of ex-players, and they've been like telling me stories about like players who won't go down to the Championship to play on loan. They'd rather sit on the bench and, just collect their paycheck and want to play. Like,
question: is Kieffer Moore a Premier League player or a Championship player?
I think he's got the talent to play in the Premier League. I think he's good enough to play in the Premier League.
He's got goals in the Premier League, but
you've got to work as well.
On a regular basis, I don't know. But hang on, let's not slag him off now. He's done all right.
Yeah. No, he's done
probably
very
just
well
like
for
fell in
Wales
his
as
own
well.
nest, and which players do, and you can't blame him at times. But when you had that adulation from the Cardiff City fans, I would have seen just a little bit more effort from him.
I think it's a fair criticism, but also, how difficult is it when you're at, I don't know, whatever club, Cardiff, anywhere, who's a lower league club or a club lower down, and once you get that interest from a bigger club or a club higher up the league or a club in the league above, how difficult is it to get your head down and ignore that? Because you know that bid's come in from West Ham or whoever it is. So it has to be difficult to think, like when things aren't going well for him at Cardiff and he's got COVID for the second time and he's not playing, he must be thinking, oh, what if I'd gone to West Ham in the summer? I'd be in London possibly. Doing this and that.
The world is different from when I played, because you've got agents now.
Of course,
I had an agent, but like there's so much more agents now just filling your head with all this. You can double your money here.
Yeah.
You can just, and it is difficult. Everyone's got families, and just my thing was I just don't think he gave enough for Cardiff when he did play.
I think it's fair enough, and I think look, back on Steve Morrison, I think he deserves tremendous credit for the transfer window he had, because I said at the start of January on the show with Rodri, I said Cardiff are in big trouble because they got no money to spend, they've got a small squad, and they are getting closer and closer to relegation, so they need to do something. I don't know how they're going to do it because they haven't got the money, and he's wheeled and dealed and he's moved a few players out and he's got these loans in. Loans, of course, they're not long-term solutions, isn't it? But he's got to do what he's got to do.
The best of the under-23s in.
Yes.
And he's got players in who will link up with the squad he has now. So I think the both of them have done a great job. And at the moment, obviously, we're closer to the playoffs than we're.
Wasn't the case a month ago, was it?
No.
So I think
some great results, and the recent game against Coventry are no mugs. My ex-teammate Mark Robbins manages them, and he's made a good career out of the game. But it's can we keep it going now to the end of the season? Once we're kind of out of that drop zone.
Yeah.
What's the mentality now of the players and the management has to be, right, let's see
how we can go. Because it's funny enough, I said this last night on last night's show, is that my worry is that we get safe, but we're too far away from the playoffs, and your season kind of fizzles out a little bit because you're not in danger and you haven't got really anything to strive for.
But that's down to the manager, I think, to say to the players, okay, because I would like to think if they continue to do what they do, they'll probably get the job full time next year.
Yeah, I think so.
I can't see any other way the club would bring anyone in. So it is a case of the manager's going, okay, do you want to be part of the squad next year? So we'll see. Yes.
So what about your other former club, Manchester United? What's going on there?
Garbage at the moment. Garbage. I can't watch it.
Do you find it frustrating, mate? Because I look at those players, and there is, I'd say, whichever combination of starting lineup, I'd say there's quite regularly 8 or 9 players not trying their best, and then you'll have Bruno Fernandes and De Gea at least trying their best, and then you've got the rest of the team just seem to have a really bad attitude. I've never I'm 40 now, and I've followed United relatively closely for since I can remember, and I've never known so many leaks to come out of a dressing room as what's come out in the past since Fergie's left. How many just people leaking stories?
Leaks are easy. I mean, and it's mostly the players who are unhappy. And you think about United this season. Solskjaer was in charge at the beginning. Solskjaer kind of tried to keep everyone happy. You know, the club have decided to bring in, Ralph Rangnick as an interim manager, and then with a purpose of staying on. There's lots of confusion at United at the moment, which, like, you've got the Glazers who are, they're just in it for themselves.
Yeah.
But then you look at the players United have. I was speaking to my mate yesterday, and I said, teams like Liverpool and Man City, at least three years ahead of us in terms of players they have. And I was going through the whole Man United team, and I hate Liverpool with a passion. And there's only probably one player on, when they're on form, will get in the Liverpool team, and that's Bruno Fernandes. Because if you look at the back four, none of the back four will probably get in Liverpool's back four. Fred and McTominay wouldn't get in there.
They wouldn't get in the squad, I think.
Sancho wouldn't get in instead of Mane. You got, Rashford or Greenwood wouldn't get in instead of Salah. You got Jota, Firmino. So really, Bruno Fernandes would probably be the only one on form that would get in. But I think you've got leaks in that changing room for players who are unhappy. You've also had the World Cup, the Euros this year, where you've had Maguire's had a tough time. He said he's off the field problem on holiday. You got Shaw, you got Rashford. Sancho wasn't played. Still, they're feeling the effects of that. But to play for Man United, because I was there for a while, it is a lot of pressure, and some people can't handle it, and you can't. You've got to. I think when you play for Man United, you've got to go out and think, right, okay, especially at home when they've struggled this year. You've got to go out and think, okay, we're playing. I'm playing for Man United. I got the shirt on. You chuck in Ronaldo as well. He scored 14, 15 goals, but the criticism he's had for not closing down and not doing this, and now I heard today you've got Maguire and him fighting over the captaincy. It's not right at the moment. It's not right at the moment, and it's, as a Man United fan and a Cardiff City fan, I've watched the last 4 games, and I knew as soon as Southampton had scored, as soon as Burnley had scored, I knew that was it. The confidence just goes.
Whereas years ago, even if the other team scored, you'd be thinking, the United are going to score anyway. So you just expected it, didn't you?
I think you're going back to the likes of the team we had, and Schmeichel and Vidic.
But you always expected them to those late goals, didn't you?
If you look back at that team that you're talking about, the late goals, the midfield alone was Keane, Scholes, Beckham, and Giggs.
Yeah.
And then you had a choice of 4 up front, and Van Nistelrooy, Rooney, Tevez. You're talking about
unreal players.
That United team is probably equivalent now of what Liverpool have in terms of they can leave
options,
Jota out and bring Diaz in. They can leave, Konate out and bring Matip in. So they've got that spell now, and they'll probably have that now for the next 3 or 4 years until they start to get old, and then it's down to the manager if he stays.
No, I think Gerrard will be in there probably in 5 years, within 5 years.
I think it depends how he does. I think
he started well. I know.
How did he go to Liverpool?
So I got to say, by the way, Liverpool, mate. Yeah, you brought them up.
Yeah.
You opened the door. They.
Because I got too many Liverpool mates.
It's the same as me.
I preferred in COVID when I didn't see them. To be honest.
They Liverpool would be running away with the Premier League if Man City weren't so good, basically.
Yeah, I think Man City have.
They've got everything for now, haven't they? Everything.
Because they run properly.
The
people who've come into that club, they've done it right. They've set out a 6-7 year plan of right, let's get we'll go through a few managers, let's get the right manager, let's let him pick the players, and
but you know what
they could have 5 players off through illness, and bring 5 in just as good.
And they've got a few academy players who are good as well if they need them. And I think the thing with the Man City owners, people always jump on it, don't they? Oh, Man City wouldn't be where they were without the money, etc. But like ultimately, they stay out of the football side of things. They if they need a player, they sign it. You know, they stay out of it. They let Pep get on with it. Whereas the Glazers kind of always you always feel like they're penny pinching, and they don't want to break the bank for Haaland or whoever it may be. Like when those chances have come up, even with Sancho, they signed him a year later than what they wanted to get him, because they were arguing over 2 million or something.
It's all wrong in many ways, and it was summed up. I think it was our last game, Cardiff, in the Premier League, when we went up there and beat Man United 2-1. I was actually at the game, and I remember saying to friends that was there, and I said, "Oh, Cardiff will win today," and they were like, "You stupid or what?" I watched Pogba stroll around. I watched Martial stroll around. It was the last game of the season. We got 75,000 people who paid 50 quid, 60 quid, 70 quid a ticket. But the players, I think, United now, have been let. I mean, you mentioned Fergie. They just let what they do what they want. If they're not happy with a manager's decision, they go and tweet it.
Oh,
I mean, okay, I know social media is totally different now, but you wouldn't tweet something. Like if Eddie May says something to me,
you wouldn't run into the papers to
tell him, right? Like I wouldn't go home and think, all right, and then I'll make a tweet about it. You just, it's just bonkers, to be honest.
A couple of things with that. Like, so I suggested yesterday that one of the problems with the Glaziers and Woodward and these is their kind of things for success are top 4, social media followers, commercial success, whereas what they actually should be looking at is the playing squad, the facilities, the state of the stadium, the training facilities, the trophies won, things like this. They're not interested in that side of things. They are only interested in the commercial success. That's the first problem.
Well, what do you think Woodward kept his job so long? Because he made him like 570 million or something.
Exactly that, but failed how many times picking a manager? It's unreal. So I want to put this question to you just to kind of finish up on the current stuff. So Rodri said yesterday, he said, I asked him, if you were picking the next Manchester United manager, who would you pick? And he kind of talked about a few different candidates and whatever. And he said, look, if Ryan wasn't having the issues he's having, he would be in the conversation, but he's not. So that's that. He said, I would give it to Wayne Rooney. And I was like, it's very early for him. And he said, but he's the only one who will be able to go in there, get the respect of those players, because he's not long retired and he's won everything, etc. And he's also got the mentality of a Roy Keane, of a Fergie. He won't take any of this crap with leaks and social media and all the rest of the ridiculous things that happens within that playing squad. He will nip that in the bud straight away. And he kind of talked me into it by the end of it. Like, and he said, like, his thing was like, you give it to him, you give him 5 years, and you say, build us back to where we should be. If that means that you've got to get rid of half the playing squad, in your opinion, then that's what you do. But I still think it's a little bit early for him. But he's got a true love for the football club, and there's no doubt in his mentality.
Yeah, I mean, I'm against, particularly big clubs, against ex-players coming back as managers.
Okay.
You can see it with Solskjaer. He was given more time than he should have been.
Yeah.
Someone like Brian Robson, who was manager of Middlesbrough at the time, if Fergie hadn't lasted that long, Robert probably would have got the job.
Yeah. Mark Hughes as well probably would have been around if he hadn't gone to Man City.
You got players who are fantastic at Man United. With Rooney, I don't even judge him at the moment because he is fighting a losing battle at Derby and Thames.
Doing an unreal job though.
They're doing brilliant, but elevating to Man United. So you give him the Man United job. I can see where Rodri's coming from, but he's not going to get 5 years.
No,
the fans wouldn't give him 5 years. The club wouldn't give him 5 years. But elevating to that thing, and okay, you'd have the respect and he'd talent, but so would Roy Keane. Roy Keane could go back and be like Rooney. Roy Keane's probably done more in management than Rooney. Well, he has.
Roy Keane,
He's
people
had success, he's
people
had
slag him
failure.
off. I think
Keano's one of those
his
people, right?
management's been pretty good.
But it won't work. Personally, for me, I think the next manager should be Graham Potter.
It's
If you're going
interesting
to look for a
shout.
young
I said
manager-
Brendan Rodgers in January, but
He's
he's
been
done a
around the
bit
block.
damage.
He's been around the block, he has. So, if you're going to look at, they've talked about Pochettino, they've talked about Ten Hag.
Pochettino.
Ten Hag, okay, he's done brilliant with Ajax, okay, but the Dutch league is totally different from the Premier League. The pressures are totally different, and will he get that time to do it? Whereas Graham Potter knows the league. You know, I know he was at Swansea. He's gone to Brighton. Brighton plays some good football with young players with a mixture of older ones. You give Graham Potter a 3-year, 4-year contract, so go in there now. You are in charge of that. You bring your own backroom staff in, because the way he plays is, and I don't think Graham Potter, he's been under pressure a few times at Brighton, but for me, if you're going to go for a young English manager or British manager, I'd rather have him than Brendan Rodgers. Because Brendan Rodgers has got baggage, and what I mean by baggage is that people go in there and say, you would say, oh, Brendan Rodgers new manager. You'd have half the Man United fans going,
Yeah, he used to be
He's
manager,
Liverpool
Liverpool manager. Yeah.
you know, you've got Ten Hag, you'll go, oh. When Ragnick came in, everyone, 2 press conferences were going, oh, this is my manager, I love him. A few results go the wrong way, a couple of dodgy team selections, and they're unsure now. So
Social media, though, isn't it? It's changed the way fans are.
oh, yeah, but it's like that. It's like Twitter,
Stupid,
isn't it?
isn't it?
You know, something can be trending. Something's trending, and it's like, oh yeah, let's just join that. But there's so many good players at United, like Rashford. He's lost his way, so you need a manager to come in and say, okay, you're my centre forward. Because I don't think Ronaldo will be next year. Matic won't be there. Mata, Martial. You know,
Pogba's out of contract, isn't he?
Pogba's out of contract. I mean,
The Pogba thing's weird though, mate, because since they signed him, the fact that they signed him and then haven't signed a holding midfielder to then allow Pogba to go and do what he does for France and what he did for Juventus is beyond me, regardless of whether people think he's overrated or he's as good as he thinks he is, or all the different things that get thrown at him. He's in your squad. If he's in your squad and you're going to have him for whatever 5 years they've had him, but you're not going to do your best to build a side that's going to do him.
I love Pogba on his day. I absolutely love him.
But he needs protection.
He needs to
legs
have that
behind him.
free roll. I mean, unfortunately, the players he's had behind him.
We've got no legs.
I mean,
Matic.
How is the club in terms of Solskjaer and Woodward? If they're in charge of everything like that now, why have they let it got to a point where he's down to his last 6 months of his
£90 million player, and he's out of contract in a couple of weeks.
Fergie got rid of him, bought him back for 90 million, and now we're getting rid of him again. So it's
unreal.
I would, to be honest, depending where we finish, I think Pogba is holding out for whatever he wants in terms of money.
He'll get that though. He'll get the money side of things, won't he?
There's only PSG I can actually see who would want him.
Yeah.
But if
Madrid,
he's in the
maybe.
team and he's playing, I don't know. Depends on the next manager as well. But then you've got United players at the moment. So many egos in that team.
Yeah.
If they did appoint someone like Graham Potter, would they think, oh, not for me?
Bad attitude towards him, and they straight away, who's he? What's he ever done in the game? That's what they would say.
Well,
and I think
some players are thick, aren't they, to be honest?
Well, that's it.
But people look at
Look how the way they're treating Ranić, who's largely responsible for people like Klopp and the guy at the Chelsea manager, I forget his name now.
When you're at United, whether you're a manager, a coach, a player, a physio, a tea lady, the standards have to be so high. If you fall below that, you will get criticised. And more now, through social media, you'll just get slated.
But the thing is, though, Del, right, it's whatever job, innit? If whatever your job is, you've got a certain level that's expected of you in that job. If you don't hit that level, then you can expect criticism, whether it's in the form of a yearly review in a day-to-day job, or it's football.
At the moment, and I'm not just talking about United, I think players in general are snowflakes. They
100%.
cannot accept criticism, whether it's from fans or whether... I get social media is a curse at times.
Right, yeah.
If you don't like it, don't read it. but they do get criticism, and they can't take it. They can't take it, and like, you know, we all take criticism. I get criticism from my missus, my job, from, you know, players who used to watch me play. It's,
of course you do.
But you got to take it and you got to man up a little bit. I don't think United players, they need to man up a little bit and play for the badge and play for the shirt. And like the Cardiff City boys have done recently, you know. And some of these boys came in 5 weeks ago, knew nothing about the club. If you're at a club that doesn't want you and you're not playing, you will jump at the chance to go out on loan to any club. And I bet out of the 5-6 lads, the manager's gone, Cardiff are in for you, deadline day, we need you to go. They would have gone, yeah. They wouldn't have gone, fine, yeah. They would have just gone, I just want to get out and want to play, I want to prove myself.
Play football.
But once they've got here, you can see once they've got now and settled in the last 5 games, the passion from the fans, the manager obviously and Tom Ratman said, instilling them what the club is about. Yeah. And now, I reckon there was 5 or 6 players, probably 3 of them will sign anyway, if we can.
I'm surprised. And the thing is as well, when you bring in those loan players, mate, who've barely played, they've only played under 23s football in the Premier League, so they're not used to the atmosphere of a championship game and things like that. And that's an easy bug to catch, isn't it? Playing in front of that many fans, the atmosphere, everything which comes with it. Yeah.
It's real football. Reserves, when I played, or under 23s as it has been over the last few years.
It's nothing, is it?
Once you go there, it's real football. So like, real football is like totally different. And when you've got, especially when we played at Ninian Park, I remember playing my first game and the ball band was just rammed. And it was like, I think my first game was, I don't remember now, we drew 0-0 the first game. But then we played Bristol City and we beat them 1-0 on a Tuesday night, and it was mental. And I remember, I only come on a month loan. But after 2 weeks, I was sold. Sold on the club, on the fans, on what Eddie wanted to do. And, you know, after 2 weeks, I ended up signing then full time. So it was
one of them
years ago.
Yeah, well, let's move on to those years, mate. So let's do a bit of story time with Derek Brazil. This is what I've been looking forward to.
What time's this going out though?
Yeah, sorry, you can go out. It's my channel, isn't it? So I can.
Your channel, just go out
whenever.
Yeah.
So
what do you want to know? Ask me some questions.
No, I try. I'd like to, like, one thing which has kind of struck me recently, where I had the opportunity to speak to people in person, is obviously it's a bit different, isn't it? Because when you've got the internet, there's like a little bit of a delay, and there's all these different things. Whereas you can have a proper conversation when you're kind of here. And one thing I've really enjoyed is like listening to Darren Pearce and Lee Jarman and these kind of ex-footballers just talking about the old days, their stories coming up, you know, pre-season tours, all the rest of it. Like, so you came to Cardiff on loan, didn't you, initially? How did that sort of come about? And like, was you keen to come down here at first?
Well, to be honest, I mean, the year before, Fergie had said to me, I'm sending you on loan. And I said, where? And he said, Swansea. So bear in mind, obviously, my connections with Cardiff then and since, I went, like I said a few minutes ago, I wanted to go out and play real football. So I went to Swansea. Frank Burrows was the manager. So I went in a 3-month loan. And it was tough. You know, I played, Terry Connor played, and Leggy was in the team, and John Cornforth and people like that, and Jason Bowen. And it was my first taste of real football. I'd been to Oldham for a month on loan, but like 3 weeks was snow, so I played one game. And I was at Bristol Rovers. So to go to Swansea was like, okay, I don't know any rivalry about Cardiff City, Swansea. It was just
wanted to play football.
The club wants me to play. So I played there for 3 months. And after the 3 months, they turned around and said, Frank Burrows said, we'd like to sign you. Him and Fergie met in what do you call it, off the motorways, the service station. Yeah. And they were sat across from me. And I was sat with the Swansea team at the time. And they were trying to do a deal. So anyway, Fergie called me across. And as I came across, Frank Burrows was walking away. And Fergie says, you're coming home, son. I said, oh, okay, what's happening then? He said, you can't afford a fee. So, okay. So, I played the game that night, and the next day I went back to Old Trafford. And I knocked on Fergie's door and I said, why couldn't they afford a fee? How much were you asking for? And he said, 250 grand, which was $250,000 at the time, which Swansea couldn't pay, probably can't even pay now, to be honest. So I went back to United for another year. He asked me to go to loan on Wrexham. I refused.
Okay. Any reason?
Yeah, because I just thought, no, I don't want to be honest. Not because of any league position they were in. And then obviously, as the year went past, he offered me a 2-year contract.
Okay.
Now, he offered me a 2-year contract because, in his words at the time, where Pallister and Bruce are coming towards the end of their career, I can see you get in. But I was thinking, hang on, no, you want to give me a 2-year contract so you can charge money for me.
Yeah.
So then he said to me one day, I got a bit fed up, he said to me, Cardiff City, I've come in for you. And you're going. So, alright then.
Mm-hmm.
So I got the train down, I remember getting the train down to Cardiff, and still in my mind, I didn't think of the Cardiff-Swansea rivalry.
Yeah.
Because I didn't live here, I didn't understand how ferocious it was. So I got here, and he made me, in fact, I actually got off the train, and I remember standing outside the train station, and the Echo billboards were out where they put the news, and they said Man United star signs for Cardiff City. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, and believe it or not, this chap came behind me, just kind of pushed me out of the way. He went, oh, who's that? Oh, I bet it's Cantona, I bet it's... I turned around, right, I didn't know the bloke at the time, but it was Di Hunt.
Jesus.
So everyone knows Di Hunt.
Yeah.
And it was him, and I turned around, I didn't say anything to him. So I went and met Eddie. Eddie took me out on the pitch. There was no one there, it was a beautiful sunny day. And he said, listen son, he said, this is going to be unbelievable here. He said, I've got you on loan, but I watched you with Swansea last year, and I'd like to sign you. But it's a month loan at the moment because the chairman, Rick Wright, said, let's just see how we get on. So I remember standing there looking at Eddie thinking, God, he's tall.
Big boy.
He's a big boy. I remember looking around Ninian Park, empty, thinking, pitch was lovely. So okay, we'll see what happens.
The slope on the pitch, like the hump in it.
Yeah, it was just, I remember looking at it, and Eddie sold it to me that day.
Yeah.
So I remember being there. I actually stayed, we played, I think it was the first game, Brighton, second game, played Walsall away. And I remember, for the first 2 weeks, I stayed with Eddie. So I lived with him and Marlene in their guest house.
Amazing.
And he was brilliant, Eddie, with me. He was like, he wanted to sign me after 2 weeks. And weirdly enough, I mean, the money I was on at Man United, it more or less doubled coming to Cardiff, three divisions down or 2 divisions down.
It's quite mad, isn't it?
It was mental, I think. But the reception I got from the Cardiff City
especially
fans,
at that time, because it was
I mean,
different era,
to
wasn't
go, like the reception I got off the Cardiff City fans was, in the first game, was great. Because Man United is a big name, so they're expecting things.
Yeah.
And I've had 4 wonderful years there, made some great friends, played some great lads, some great nights out. And a couple of, I married a few people. That's my son at the all gone. Bosh, just like
just that. Gone.
Yeah,
Oh, gone. But what was it like in terms of off the field camaraderie in those days? Obviously, it's a different era, really, wasn't it? In terms of like these days, you got sports science and this type of thing, and they're all very much like they're considered athletes now, and they these days. Whereas back in the day, I think it was kind of like a play hard, work hard, play hard, and as long as you did your job on the pitch and you turned up to training, they were relatively treated you like adults, I guess.
Our typical day would be we'd go in for training. So you got in, start training at 10, so you could stroll in about 9:30, 10. As long as you're ready, got your kit on, I'd been washed. We'd normally train across the road, Jubilee Park, or Dogshit Park as it's called. And we do a couple of hours maybe. Didn't have a gym then. The actual tiny little gym was half the size of this room. and it was like a couple of weights
Yeah.
and a couple of leg weights. There's nothing like it is now.
No.
So you train, come out, then 9 or 10 of us would go down to the Black and White Cafe in Grangetown.
Yeah.
Go in there, have a big fry up. Now, if we had a day off the next day, we'd all go out. So we'd literally have a big fry up there. We'd all go to the Beverly. Eddie would know we're in there because he'd have a phone call from the landlord. He'd come in, have a couple of pints with us. So he would also say then, like, right, where you off now, boys? So like 10 of us straight into town, go to the bank, go to Henry's, go to whatever. And Eddie would say, well, where are you going to be about like 7 o'clock? I'll try and get away from Marley. So he would. He'd end up finding us. And he'd just be out with us having a drink. We'd end up in the wine press.
Mobile phones then?
No.
Pre-mobile phones. So how does he find you?
We knew everyone, Eddie. Knew everyone. I think orange phones had just come out.
Yeah, I was going to say,
the one with the
like
pull-up
90s,
thing and all that. We were all given one by General Communications. So, but we'd end up in the wine press.
Yeah.
Up till 2, 3 in the morning. We'd have the day off. But the funny thing was about it is that if you're out in Cardiff, you bump into fans.
Of course,
So
yeah.
many a time I've been stood there having a wee, leaning against the wall, too much to drink, and this bloke beside me has gone, right there, how's it going? I'm going to Doncaster on Saturday. So all the best. I'm like, okay, see you then. So we'd go back in Thursday, train, little 5-side Friday, travel to the game, Doncaster away. But you'd be playing. You know, so many, it's particularly January. The season we got promoted as champions. January, say it was January. You'd be playing, you might be 1-1, 1-0 down, and you'd hear this bloke shout from you. Alright, how's it going? Yeah. And you look up and you go, oh shit. He was the one who was out on the piss next to him.
Yeah.
And you go, come on son, we can do this. And they would actually spur you on.
Yeah.
So we'd normally end up winning games. And then back on the bus, Eddie'd stop at Asda's, loads of crates singing on the bus. But the difference now is that you know players who come out, say they come out of Cardiff City Stadium now, you've got 5 or 6 security lads.
Yeah, they're separated from the fans, aren't they? They sign an autograph and they're
do.
gone.
I mean, the security
They are
lads
good.
are brilliant. You know, the players are brilliant, but they'll sign their things and they'll have their own private car park. You won't find 9 or 10 of them going to, you know, Wetherspoons in town.
Yeah.
Because of social media now.
Yeah. Camera phones and stuff.
Camera phones and everything. Because people want to stitch people up now, don't they?
Yeah,
so,
and that's the problem, isn't it? I say myself, I'm so glad that when I was a kid, like a teenager, like 17, 18, I am so glad there wasn't really camera phones, like, because I'd have got myself into so much trouble with cameras and social media and stuff. And I wasn't a footballer, I didn't have any sort of profile, but I know the stuff that I was doing at those ages because I'm like everybody else.
You do.
It's when you make your mistakes, isn't it?
In the 4 years I was at Cardiff City, we used to go out at least, once, twice a week as a group of players.
But I think that's important, Del, as well,
it
to build team
important,
spirit. Team spirit.
But teams do it now. You see teams now, they fly to Dublin, you know, as a group, or they go fly somewhere else, to Newcastle. So they get out of the city because there is too many people here trying to trip people up. And that's not, it's not a Cardiff City fan problem, it's not
it's a people problem, isn't
it? They just look at me so they can share it on Twitter or on WhatsApp and say, look who I've just like
they want the
pranked,
likes and
basically.
all this and that, don't they? Yes.
If it was around an hour a day, we probably wouldn't have had the same
freedom
crack or freedom. Do you know what I mean? Then it'd be the same now. If I can transport myself to being a player now, I'd never be able to go out.
Well, that's why so many of them stay in, isn't it? And they'll have people over to the houses and you know they'll do it that way because it's less stressful, isn't it? Like there's there was someone recently who was saying who was it? I can't remember. It was someone not particularly famous, someone like, you know, well known, say. Yeah. And he said like he was out having food with his missus, and he'd been out the night before, so he was hungover, and then he'd gone to the loo, and he thought, oh, my stomach's hurting, gone to the toilet, and this guy, as he was going into the cubicle, had said, oh, right, mate, yeah. Oh, do you mind if I have a photo? And he's gone, yeah, no problem, but can we wait till I'm out the toilet, like? and I'll come out and I'll take a photo or sign, whatever. So we went in the cubicle, and the guys stayed outside the cubicle, like talking to him and waiting for him to have a photo, and he's like, Jesus, like, I don't understand that, like, that mentality of, I get wanting to meet your heroes and stuff, and like, I've been lucky enough that I get to meet and speak to people like yourself who I grew up watching play football for Cardiff and stuff like that, and I love it. Every time it's exciting and it's thing, but like, I don't get the mentality of like harassing someone for a photo or for like when they're with their family or their kids. I don't understand it.
To be honest, I get it more now in terms of people asking me for a selfie.
Yeah.
Because obviously there's no phones then or whatever.
It's easier, isn't it, to do?
But like, you know, I've been out with my daughter, I've been out with my girlfriend, and you know, if I go out in Cardiff or whatever, and someone like say to me, they go, "All right, Derek, how you doing?" And like, I hate it because like I don't know the person's name.
Yeah.
And I go, "All right, mate," and it's nothing worse. And then I have to say, "Sorry, do we?" No.
Yeah.
I used to watch you back in the day and all that, but still people come up and say, "Do you want to have a selfie?" Or "Can you sign this for me?" Or people I've worked with, like they go, "Is your second name Brazil?" I went, "Yeah." And they go, "Oh, my dad used to work. Can you speak to my dad on the phone?" I've done that quite often when I've like spoke to him on the phone. Like, you know, the dads are in the.
That's
70s,
really
80s.
uncomfortable. That is for me.
I don't find it uncomfortable.
But I think
find it like for me, it's not uncomfortable. I like it because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, someone remembers you and they're fond memories.
you're making their day as well, aren't you?
Like the amount of people I've spoken on the phone or FaceTime, I've got with WhatsApp now. It's like,
Yeah.
and I go,
Just
all right,
jump on.
and like I spoke to like lads in the people in the late 70s, and they go, "Oh, like they go, you haven't changed." You know, they're half blind anyway.
Yeah.
But like, if it makes someone's day,
Of course,
it don't
yeah.
bother me. I'd probably struggle at the moment if the social media was like is now back now. If I was playing now, because I like to go out and have a good time.
Yeah.
You know, and I'd probably have to curb that quite a lot.
Well, it's difficult,
I'd be a lot
isn't it?
richer, mind.
Yeah, well,
Right.
people try and trip you up, wouldn't they? They try and catch you out when you're falling about or you're doing it. Like, was there anyone who didn't kind of join the group when you would go out, like as a team and stuff? Was there people who just wasn't their sort of thing, or they would prefer to be, you know, kind of a bit isolated? Not necessarily in a bad way, just like
no, like Stanley
just wasn't their thing.
Stanley kept himself to himself. Who else probably wouldn't come out? Stanley's the one who would probably, you know,
Just didn't fancy it.
Not so much he didn't fancy it. I don't even know much of a drinker really, Stanley, and he was a bit of a loner. But I think he was like that on the pitch as well. He was very self-centered of what he wanted to do, and even though he looked like he was a team player, Stanley was one of these lads who was like, his sole thing was, I want to play football, I want to score goals.
Yeah.
And anything else that he kind of kept himself to himself. So, you know, he did brilliant for the club.
Interesting, that is.
But he was one of them that, you know, you see celebrations, you think, yeah, he's probably one of the boys who goes out. No, he didn't. He was.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because like you see him, he looks like one of those who's working hard all the time, and like what you would stereotype as like a team.
He
team
was
player,
a
like,
team, but I think as soon as he left, say the ground or change rooms or training,
it was kind of the end
he
of
was
it.
quite happy to quite, you know, go home type of thing. I was quite happy to go home as well, but like once
No, I know you mean,
that,
yeah.
I'd come out then. So, but you have your usual mob like Paul Miller and Dale, Jason
Like
Perry, Damon Sale, Nicky Richardson, you know. So you know, there was
good,
it was,
good group.
yeah, it was.
Best.
At 4 o'clock in the morning, it didn't seem like a good group.
No.
Or a good idea.
Well, that's it. It never does it?
It doesn't now.
Especially when you've got training.
Well, we've got a reunion coming up soon as well, so
Yes. It's going to be
yeah,
good, that is
it's
it?
going to be 20 years this year.
30 years, Jesus. That's
I know.
such a
I
long time now.
20 years. Where's that gone? I mean, when I
It
look
just
at it, I just think.
flies by though,
I think
doesn't
a
it?
week sometimes. Like if I've got something on in a week, then I think, oh, that's too long. But 20 years is like
It
it's
just goes.
like my daughter now. Like my daughter's 11. She started playing football a couple of years ago. She plays for RocknRolla and FC. and she's a defender. So I've tried to say to her, do you want some one-on-one coaching? No, you're right. No, you're not right. But I can see the similarities how she plays as well. But when I go out, sometimes I take her out somewhere. If someone comes up and says, "Oh, can I have a selfie?" She's like quite embarrassed. She's like that.
Yeah, I suppose it's because it's before her time, isn't it?
Yeah.
So she doesn't quite get it. Like she just sees you as dad.
Yeah.
Why is this?
She's quite surprised, but she is quite proud as well because obviously her mum's Welsh. I'm Irish. But if Ireland are playing Wales in rugby or football, she will support Ireland.
No, daddy's girl.
I don't know it's daddy's girl, but she's like that. But she's also like, she said she was in school one day and she read this Wales Online thing. It was a story about I did some stuff for the homeless. There's a picture of me and her in Penarth, and she read it all. And at the bottom it says leave a comment, and she just put in, "That's my dad."
Oh, bless her.
I know, which is quite.
That's all you need, isn't it?
Yeah. So.
With what's your best favourite pre-season tour you ever done?
It's got to be Ireland.
Naturally.
I think we only went on one.
So who was that with? Cardiff or United?
Cardiff City. We went for 10 days. Right.
I'd be dead if I went to Ireland on a pre-season tour for 10
days.
days, mate.
So it was Eddie's idea because the Cardiff City, there's a Cardiff City supporters branch in Dublin.
Of course, yeah.
Run by Rob. Oh God, he writes for the Sun. His name will come back to me. So he organised.
I'm gonna have to bleep that name out now. You don't have to.
What?
The Sun.
All right, bleep it out.
Just give him extra work.
A newspaper, a tabloid paper.
Yeah.
So he organised it. He organised the games and everything. Now we have no idea who we're playing. So he's organised the game. Yeah, Eddie, no problem. We'll sort the games out. Come over.
Oh, Jesus.
So we've got the ferry over. Right, we didn't fly. So we've got a 16-man squad. Eddie, the coaches. I think Eddie's missus come as well. It was just one of them. It was just like jolly up. Okay?
Yeah, just.
So we got there. I remember just getting there. We were drinking on the boat. There was Cardiff City fans on the boat. It was just carnage.
Well, Cardiff fans follow you wherever, don't they?
Carnage.
Didn't matter if it's pre-season or what.
So we played one game in Kilkenny, and the pitch was just full of cowpat. It was.
Oh,
I remember Eddie thinking, we drew 1-1 or something stupid. It was like ridiculous. Then we played another game, can't remember. Then we went to Donegal. Donegal was the most memorable bit of it, because we had a game that, say it was a Friday. Thursday, Eddie said, go out, have a couple of points, boys, explore Donegal, but we got a game tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay, so we said, all right then. So out we went. I think it was me, Nicky Richardson and Paul Miller. So we went out, just walked down there, in the middle of nowhere, found this Irish pub, gone in there, 4, 5, 6 pints of Guinness. There's a dartboard, and there's one dart. So we're playing one, okay, write that down. So we're playing that. So anyway, 6 or 7 points now, better go back. Because so anyway,
11 o'clock tomorrow.
Right, come back. We're back about 6 o'clock that night, so we got a game the next day. So Tony Bird was with us as well. So we come back there. So we're sitting at a dinner table and we're all having a meal, and like Eddie comes in, he comes over to us, and like we're trying to like comes over, he goes, all right boys, good afternoon. And I was like, oh. And Nicky Richardson was probably the poshest out of, like, you had me and Paul Miller who were like Irish, couldn't hide it. Nicky's going, we just went for a walk along the seafront and all that, like whatever. He said, all right then, okay. He said, hey, you forgot your dart. He went to the pub after us, and the bloke had said to him, all 3 of your lads were in here. Yeah, they had about 6 or 7 points. He said, give me the dart. He just put the dart on the table like that. Like that.
Busted.
But Tony Bird, who'd only come out for a little bit, he messed it up the next day. So the next day, 11 o'clock, he said, we're leaving at 10. I said, leaving at 10? He said, yeah, the game's only 20 minutes away. Okay, it's a bit late. Anyway, I'm lying in the room in the morning, and it's next to the sea. And I could see this jet ski going up and down. It was Tony Bird on a jet ski.
Jesus.
Out in the middle of the sea, half hour before we're supposed to leave. And someone had told Eddie. Dropped him, didn't play him. It was mental, and I don't even remember the ferry back. It was 10 days, and then I think
10 days is a long time.
For 3 games. I mean, I don't even think we trained. That's how
just a jolly it was like.
Yeah, it was a jolly. Yeah, it was a jolly.
But that's what tours are for everyone else.
End of season tours, yeah, but this is pre-season tour.
Yeah, getting ready for the season, I suppose,
yeah.
isn't it?
It's not ideal, is it?
Brutal. What about you mentioned obviously I had Lee Jarman in here a couple of weeks ago. Talk to me a little bit about him as a footballer, because my memory of him as a player is quite mixed, quite confused, but just because I was so young. But I just remember him being very, very good. And he told me the story about how towards when he was about 18, 19, towards the end of that season, he had captained the side for 4 games, the last 4 games of the season or whatever. And then he'd signed a new contract, so he'd gone away in the summer, this is, things are starting to really kick on in my career now. And then he come back and Frank Burrows didn't speak to him for 6 months. And he still to this day doesn't really know why. Oh, there you are. What's Frank Burrows like then? Because to me, that was really weird. But Lee speaks, he said he quite likes Frank Burrows. But to me, that would sour it because of what happened in that 6 months where Lee started to have a beer and stuff on a Friday. His career didn't perhaps go in the way it would have gone because he was linked with some big clubs and stuff that previously.
Frank Burrows, I just talked on him. Frank was a tough man. Tough man. Typical Scottish fella. He could just change his mind. He could change his mind on somebody. But with Jarman, I mean, Lee Jarman was ahead of his time.
Yeah.
Lee Jarman, I remember, I think he was injured at the time. I played with Lee a few times. I think we played at Fulham as well together. I think we won 2-1 and lost 2-1. But I remember watching Lee when I was injured. Do you know, now, you watch a Premier League game, keeper gets it, and you got the 2 centre backs will stand either side, and they just roll it out.
Yes.
In our day, that would never happen.
No, it was long ball, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just literally kick it out, or maybe kick it out to the left back, right back.
Yeah.
As a centre back, you just push up, kick it out.
You weren't looking for the ball, were you?
Whereas Lee, right, he was one of these. I remember watching a game once, it was a night game. Keeper got it, and he'd come to the edge of the box, and he wanted it on the edge of the box, and he could ping a ball. He could get it, play it to the winger, but that frightened managers.
Yeah,
because it wasn't done. It wasn't done then. He'd want to get it off the keeper, just outside the 6-yard box, to try and play into midfield to go to that. Jarman wasn't happy with running up. Okay,
just watching the ball
loved to play. So you see him now. He would have been more suited to today's game than then.
Definitely.
And when he started doing that, I think a lot of Cardiff City fans were like, "Oh, what's he doing?"
Of course.
He'd never lose the ball. He'd always pass it to somebody. They might lose it, which means
it kind of
Jarman's
goes back to you.
Yeah. But he always wanted to play, and maybe Frank Burrows had seen that and thought, "Oh, hang on, that's a little bit risky, son." But that's why people like Liverpool were looking at him at the time, because he was a ball playing centre back.
Yeah.
The thing is with Lee, and I spoke to Lee a few times, is that if he'd added stuff to his game, for a tall lad, he wasn't great in the air. He wanted everything on the floor, on the deck, and he could drop the shoulder, pass it this way, pass the great footballer. Probably wasted as a centre back in them days. Whereas now,
be perfect for
him. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think like he said, he got into bad habits where he wasn't playing. So he wasn't, because he wasn't in the squad.
Yeah,
he used to
Did
go.
he say that?
No, he didn't say where.
He
just did. No, he didn't know. You just dropped him.
It was me, him, Charlie Otway, and a few others. We used to go to the Rat and Carrot.
Right, okay.
If you weren't in the squad. Stay there for a while. Just look at the menu.
See what's on
what
offer.
Food was on, and just
A few beers.
Just a couple, maybe just a couple of looseners.
Yeah, that's the way, mate. So what's 4 years you've done at Cardiff, wasn't it?
4 years as a player, and then I went back there for 2.5, 3 years as a community coach.
Where'd you go from Cardiff?
Went to Newport, AFC at the time. It's only a 2-year contract. That was part-time. I was 27 at the time. So, which sometimes I don't realise sometimes when I talk about it, is that I come over from Ireland at 17, signed for Man United. But at the age of 27, 10 years, I dropped out of professional football. But it worked out better in the end for me because I'd had a few injuries and signed for Newport, which is part-time, but I also set up the community scheme for them.
Yeah.
So I was doing that during the week and playing for them. I was there for 2 years, then I went to Haverfordwest as a player. And then I had a bad injury on my knee then.
What did you do to your knee?
I don't know, do you know what, to this day I still don't know what it was. I think it was a split patella and just, it was stitched and then it was boshed up and then I kind of made a comeback then, played for Cardiff Draconians, Cracks.
Yes.
Then I played for RocknRolla, Sporting RocknRolla then. Scored 17 goals that season, right?
Did you? Take you weren't playing centre back then, were you?
No, I was playing centre mid.
Oof, box to
and
box.
in goal. If we'd had a hangover, I was in goal. So
box to box midfield.
And then I went back to Haverfordwest as a manager then for 4 years. So that's when Tom Rammer said I signed Tom as a player.
So, did you enjoy the management side of things?
I did for the first 2 years or so. But then I got to a point of that. It wasn't great budget for you having to
Welsh
pay
League
players.
football and that, yeah.
And then you're arguing over someone over a tenner to sign next season when they're not even worth the 150 you're giving them. And they want a tenner, otherwise they'll go to Carmarthen. And then you're ringing up players every day.
Did you feel frustrated, I guess?
I was
then?
massively frustrated. And it was like, I'd ring players, are you training tonight? No, I can't make it. Okay. You ready? You okay for Saturday? Yeah, it'll be fine. It was constant on the phone all the time, but sometimes no return.
Yeah, and I guess when it's constant, if they've got like day jobs and stuff, they can't always be got hold of in the day. So what you find is you're constantly on the phone day and night. So you never get a bit of a break from that yourself, do you?
I was got my phone bill was ridiculous at the time, and I think it came to a head when my daughter was born, and then for a few months after that, I was like, do I really need this? Do I really need this?
Do you think you would have liked to have gone like properly into sort of management and coaching and like at a professional level, or are you kind of happy with?
I was quite, because of my like home life at the time, I was quite happy to stay in Welsh League.
Yeah.
If the opportunity had arisen, I mean, I had an opportunity to go to Qatar
to
manage a team out there, but obviously my daughter at the time was like only 2.
Oh.
My wife.
Not ideal, is it?
No, she didn't want to go out there. It was a brilliant deal for a couple of years.
What an experience it would have been.
Oh yeah, but it was.
It's wrong time.
Wrong time, and I had an opportunity to go and join Man United's coaching staff in the community scheme.
Okay.
But again, wrong time. And I got to the stage then, because I'd started coaching at 27 at Newport, that become, when I finished football, that become my career for 20 years. Coaching in schools, and my own business, doing PE, after school clubs. Then it went into after dinner speaking, stuff like that. So.
Do you enjoy them after dinner speaking and stuff?
I do enjoy them. I've done quite a few now, and they're quite intimate as well in terms of like I talk about Man United for the first hour, then I do 20 minutes on private life and things that have happened to me in my career, which I think it's important that people understand, because on my shows I've said things that people are quite shocked about. I've told them about nights out and this, that and the other,
like what?
Married, divorces, but I've told them other stuff which are not connected to football, and I've had people come up to me afterwards and say, oh my God, like, so being a footballer is not all it's cracked out to be.
Yeah.
And like what you've gone through, the lad said to me, what you've gone through, I'm going through at the moment. So it's really encouraging to know that.
Humanises you, doesn't it? Especially for
like,
people who kind of put you on a pedestal as being like a bit of a hero.
People have told me, like, you know, I've spoken to people like Norman Whiteside and Brian Robson, and they've said, don't tell him. I said, well, like, it's real though, it's part of me, and I've had more better feedback from that. I've told, obviously...
The thing is, Odell, right, is if you went and done those after dinner things, and you're fake, not fake, but like you're telling the stories about the football, but then you kind of, people see through it. People can tell when they're speaking, or the person is speaking to them, and when it's someone who's got just a prepared dialogue of stuff in it.
Some of your stuff is prepared.
No, I know that, but you know what I mean, don't you? Like, it's the real person as opposed to not a character, but like a press persona, if you like.
It is.
People see through that.
Just before lockdown, a chap at Ireland has asked me would I write a book, and it was more along the lines of like, I agreed to it. It's not the lines of like, say, if you buy a Robbie Keane book. Yeah. Robbie Keane, he was like this when he was growing up. He was young. He did this. He was brilliant at this. He did this. He won this. He won this. He won this. So this chap approached me and said, we don't really want to do it like that, because obviously Robbie Keane or Roy Keane have bigger names than you. They could just screenshot stuff from the internet to just put in there. So I said, what would you like to do? And I said, well, look, you know, if I'm going to write a book, I want it warts and all. He said, perfect. So he said, because we could base it on like, you were the big thing leaving Ireland at 17. Within 10 years, you were playing for Newport. Yeah. No disrespect to Newport, but you're playing.
Yeah, of course.
You know, semi-pro. So it would be what happened to you in those years. You know, it's not all roses in the garden. The things that have happened to me, married, divorced, and all that, and blah blah blah. So I said to him, yeah, I'd agree to that on one condition. And he said, well, what's that? I said, I want to put everything in the book. And he went, that's fine. That's fine, we'll do that. I said, but I don't want to do it until my daughter's 18, 19. He said, what was she now? I said, well, at the time, she was what, 8? Right. He went, okay, fair enough.
10 years, yeah.
So I've spoke to him recently, and he said he's still keen on it, but it'll be just a case of like, I've even said to my ma, I said, I'd probably have a book coming out in the next 6 or 7 years, ma. Shit, do I need to read it? I said, probably not.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it's something to leave behind. But if you're going to tell a story, you tell a story, and that's what I'm saying about when I do my shows, which I really enjoy. I probably only do 4 or 5 a year, but you kind of bear in your soul in terms of what that you want to say to people, but whether it shocks them, whether it doesn't, it's me. You know, and my close friends know what I've been through. You know, and I've had a great life. I've got a great daughter. You know, I've got a great girlfriend. I still get on really well with her mum. You know, and this, but there's other stuff that's happened to me that I think people should know, because if they're going through that, I know I'm sounding cryptic. No,
I know what you mean.
Through that,
it can help, can't it?
It can, you know, if it helps 1 or 2 people,
100%, mate.
You know,
I say it probably a couple of times a month, like when I talk, because my missus will say to me, sometimes you talk about too much of like what you've been through or what you go, you know, what's going on with you or something. Just, she says, you know, just sometimes I wish you would just kind of keep a bit. But I say, like, my thing is if there's one person who's watching that and they're watching me like do a show with Rodri Giggs or Derek Brazil or whoever, and then we start talking about, oh, we're struggling a bit at the moment or whatever it may be, and they think, oh, so am I.
Yeah.
Then wicked. That's what that one person meant. It was worth it.
Well, yeah, because so many people. I mean, we're getting very deep. I know, but some people, like, if they're in a certain position, say it's mental health or whatever, that person feels so alone, and you do think it's just you. But then when you find out that other people who, and I know this from a fact that I've spoken to someone about mental health. I did a thing on BBC Radio about it a while back. Is that someone? When I did that on the radio, I wasn't particularly talking about myself, but I was in certain ways. That when you come out of football, when I came out of professional football, I had no doctor, I had no dentist. I couldn't fill out a form in terms of like going for a driving license.
Never had to.
This was all done for me. This was all done for me, and you do get into that thing of like being up there, and all of a sudden now you're down there, and other people don't think you're down there. The people who value you are not down there. But you do, because you think I've got this thing to keep up.
Yeah.
So people think I'm like that, and I mean, the job I'm in now is perfect. Like for me, in terms of what I working with kids now and in care homes, and to give something back and trying to affect them at the age they're at now. Because it was difficult for me leaving Ireland at 17. I'd never been on a plane before.
I was going to say, there must have been, obviously, not only did you leave, it's such, like my oldest boy is 17 now, and like I look at him, and I think about him now, and I think, Jesus, like his age, you were going to Ireland on a plane to go and sign with Man United, and your parents and your family and whatever must have been a bit like...
Over. Man United offered to move him over, but I actually turned around and said to my man and dad, I said no, because I had 3 brothers and a sister. They were all like, you know, I said no.
There's a lot of uprooting in there.
No, don't do that for me. And I've made lots of mistakes and all that, but I wouldn't change it because...
Make sure you are.
Yeah, I've learned from the mistakes I've done. Let's say I've learned from the big mistakes I've done. I still make my little mistakes now.
Everybody makes mistakes, so don't they?
But I just think, I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't... It's who you are, innit? No one goes through life being like perfect, even though some people think they are.
They put it out on social media that they are as well, don't they? They
they
love that.
The people who know me, who dearly know me, know some of the struggles I've had. Some of them my own fault, and some like that I've got caught up in, or it's just been because it's been.
Shit happens.
Yeah,
basically.
But like, I wouldn't change anything, and I think doing the after dinner speaking is and doing stuff like this is quite therapeutic in a way that like you can kind of relay it to people and see their reaction, and then you speak to people after the shows, and and they're quite complimentary about, like, they'll say stuff like, I didn't know you played with that person, I didn't know you knew that person, didn't realise you went through that. That was never in the newspapers, but it wouldn't be.
Yeah.
So...
Just call me Dr. Si.
Dr. Si.
No.
Someone asked me the other day, right? A lad I work with, he said, who's the best 3 players you've ever played against and the best 3 you've ever played with? Were you going to ask me that? No.
No, I think I asked you that before. Go on, you got to say it again. Go on, tell me the answer though.
Well, it was only the other day and I was actually thinking about it. Like one of the answers that I should have said, like, one of the best players, the 3 best players I ever played was Paul McGrath. Absolute legend of a man. Robbie James, when he was at Cardiff City, he was only there for a year, but he was amazing.
So good.
And I would say, but there's millions, and you've got Giggs and Keane, you've got but I would say Brian Robson or Bobby Charlton. Now Bobby Charlton, now he's way older than me.
Yeah.
But I played for Man United in Switzerland, and he'd come as a director. He would have been on 50, and he played the second half.
No way.
I was only the other day I was in a car, his name came on the radio, and I got the ball off the keeper and passed it to him.
Oh mate,
he passed it back to me, then I passed it back to him. And he got caught in possession because he was Bobby Charlton to pass it back. He should have gone right.
But you wanted to pass the ball to Bobby Charlton.
I remember telling me Dad, I said, Dad, he loved Bobby Charlton. I played with Bobby Charlton today. It was only the other day I actually
That's amazing,
his name on the radio. I thought, shit.
That's wicked though that he's like 50 and he just fancied the game.
I'm still playing now.
Nah, he loves it.
And the 3 best players against Ruud Gullit. He was tough. Probably a lad you don't know, Billy Whitehurst. He was an animal. Played for Hull. And Gary Lineker.
Some names there, mate, isn't there?
Well, I played for Swansea against Gary Lineker. He scored a hat-trick against me. I couldn't even see him.
Gone.
Couldn't even see him.
People write him off as a goal hanger, don't they? But he's much better than that. Much more talented. I think he's one of those players who kind of is vastly underrated because scored hundreds and hundreds of goals.
Score goals. I got 1. Yeah,
he's a good one, though, wasn't it?
Oh, it was a great one.
Talk me through it.
Well,
finish us off with this.
We were 5-0 down, and Terry Orlett sent us out on the pitch after like 5 minutes. Now, it was Terry Orlett's fault really, because he played 3 at the back. He played me and Lee Badley either side of Mark Aizerwood, who was like 72 at the time.
Yeah.
And they absolutely tore us apart with 5-0 down. So he brought us in. He said, right, you shower or whatever, back out. So we had to stand on the pitch, and the Huddersfield fans were ruining us. We were standing there in the freezing, in a yellow kit. And anyway, game happened. The ball came out, and I was on the edge of the box. Ball came across. I've chested it on the edge of the box, and scissor kicked it. Bit like Mark Hughes' goal for Wales, top corner.
Beautiful.
And I'd never scored for Cardiff, had I? So I've run behind the goal where our fans were, and I've gone, get out there, that kissing the badge.
And then
it's one bloke went
5-1.
fucking 5-1 down. Get back. So I remember running back. But then I did score during the week then against Riska.
Ah, there we
The
go.
Welsh Cup, beat them 9-1. Scored a 40-yarder.
Two goals,
There's no footage.
two absolute
There's no footage
classics.
of me scoring that volley.
No, but
it's
it did
gotta
happen.
Be, Huddersfield TV must have it.
But it did happen.
Did happen because I've had people come up to me in the street.
Ah, right. Okay.
Just on my way here, this bloke come up and said, "Excuse me, can you tell me the way to Beale Street, please?" I was like, "Oh, I thought you were going to ask me about my goal against."
Yeah. So what was it against Huddersfield? Scissor kick and a 40-yarder against Riska.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hunt them down, mate.
You probably won't find them.
No, maybe. So I've been joined by the original RocknRolla, Mr. Derek Brazil. Well,
still going?
Always a pleasure, my friend.
Yeah, always a pleasure to see you. It's nice to see you in the flesh.
I know. It makes a difference, doesn't it? It's better.
Oh, I know.
Just have a chat, like.
Because the last time I was on with you, I went off, didn't I?
Oh yeah, because we done one just me and you, didn't we, before?
Yeah.
And then you came on with me and Andy, and your connection was being
gone,
funny, and you just disappeared,
just
like halfway through
like
a sentence, like a ghost in the night. He was gone.
Still here.
There we go, mate. Top man, Derek Brazil. There we go.
All the best. See you soon at 22.
Indeed. Subscribe, youtube.com/A.C.E Podcast Nation. Follow on social media, all that good stuff. And also check out MANSCAPED.com. Use the code ACE Nation for 20% off and free shipping. Ta.